You're listening to Criticaleye's Asia Leadership Podcast. Criticaleye is a global membership community with over 2 decades of experience supporting senior executives in their roles. We work with board-level executives, giving them opportunities to build their knowledge, skills, and access independent reference points outside of their immediate networks. Whether you're stepping into a more senior role or aspiring to do so, looking to hone high-level stakeholder relationships, drive operational performance, build your own personal resilience as a leader, or have longer-term career goals such as moving into a plural career, Criticaleye's approach supports a range of leadership challenges and ambitions.
Hello and welcome to the Criticaleye Asia podcast, Inspiring Leaders to Succeed. I'm Yu-Wen Hsiao, Marketing and Communications Manager at Criticaleye, and it's a great pleasure to be a host for today's episode. In today's episode, we're talking about what it takes to lead people and performers in a fast-changing world. So I think with disruption, new technologies, and shifting workforce expectations, HR leaders must play a critical role in shaping strategy, building resilient organizations, and also preparing talent for the future. So I'm really excited to be joined by Kathleen Kee, Vice President HR, EMEA and Asia at Santen Pharmaceuticals Asia. So Kathleen partners with senior business leaders across 12 countries across Asia and EMEA, leading HR initiatives that drive transformations, enhance employee experiences, and also build diverse and resilient workforces. So Kathleen, thank you so much for being here. To get us started, could you please tell us about your background and your professional journey?
Thank you very much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be able to contribute to this podcast. A little quick background about myself. I've been in HR now for maybe 25 years. Just looking back at, wow, can't believe that it's more than 20 years already. At the beginning of my career, I started off in the accounting industry and doing tax consulting for one of the big 4 or 5 back then. And subsequently, moved into HR, started off in consulting, really loved it. And since then, I've been in and out of the consulting industry as well as in-house in a variety of industries from banking to logistics to aerospace and now to the pharmaceutical industry. So in the span of all of that, I've been in COE roles, I've been in generalist role, and now I have the privilege of leading 2 very exciting regions, 2 very fast-growing regions for Santen. So I do partner closely with executive leadership teams to really architect and execute enterprise-wide programs to looking at organization design, leadership development, and building the right culture for organizations to thrive in a nutshell. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, for your introduction. So I'm quite curious, what are the biggest global and regional challenges we are seeing right now? And are there any challenges that are shaping your own leadership priorities and also decision making?
Yes, so in everything that I've seen to date, globally as well as across EMEA and Asia, the biggest challenge I see is navigating the constant uncertainty that we are all living in today, while still having to deliver to sustainable performance. We're all operating in a world of rapid scientific advancement, evolving regulatory and pricing pressures, geopolitical volatility, and a workforce that expects, clarity, purpose in the work that they do, and growth opportunities all at the same time. So regionally, the diversity of the markets adds even another layer of complexity to that. And the pace of change that we're all expected to manage, in terms of talent availability and cultural expectations, really differ significantly across the different countries that I operate in. Okay. So this only means that there is really no one-size-fits-all solution to the initiative and the ideas that we have to put in place. So these challenges have shaped my leadership priorities, in more practical ways. So I focus on setting clear direction in terms of how do we navigate this complexity, how do we simplify it to really focus the team and the business on doing what's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So therefore, it means that we have to look into building the right leadership capability and how these leadership capabilities can help lead the team through change, lead for high performance, while still taking care of the need of our people. Okay, so we can't drive them like machines, right? So we need to look into what is it that will make them tick, will drive them in a very sustainable manner. So this means making very deliberate choices, prioritizing what truly matters, what will really move the needle. And how do we do that through our people? Because HR can't do everything. Leaders themselves can't do everything. So we really need to know how to cascade this down in a way that deeply connects with our people, and in what they will experience throughout their journey in the organization. So ultimately, my decisions are guided by one main question. How do we enable our people to perform at their best in a sustainable manner and in an increasing complex environment? Yeah.
So, Kathleen, in response to the trends that you just mentioned, how do you adapt your approach to different regions or markets?
Yeah, it is an interesting one because no one region is the same, no one market is the same.
Yeah.
So, I'm really guided by, the needs of the region, but also the needs of what the local markets are needing. Okay. So in EMEA and Asia, we have very incredibly diverse teams. What works for one country may not work for another. So my role is to balance consistency with flexibility. So in practice, what this means is really have to listen closely to local leaders, understanding the specific business needs, the specific people needs, and the cultural context in which they operate. Okay, so this means also empowering the markets and the leaders to make decisions what is right for them, but within a clear framework so everybody don't run off like headless chicken. So I focus on a few non-negotiables as well, so that they operate within these certain parameters to stay, consistent. And that means, tying everybody back to our values, a set of leadership principles or expectations, and also a set of talent standards that will allow local teams to thrive and to also, local teams to tailor the solutions around what suits them best. Okay. So ultimately, I'm adopting my approach to enable the local business, but also one that is centered around trust. Okay, so you have to empower and ensure that you trust the local leaders to act in a way that is in their best interest, because trust that they also know their markets best, but at the same time ensuring that we all stay aligned to the global and the regional strategy and purpose.
So, Kathleen, would you mind also sharing how would you actually balance the immediate challenges we planning for the future?
Yeah, with a lot of challenge.
Yeah.
But ultimately, there is a definite need to always look into what is needed right now. So the immediate needs, but also, not forgetting the future. So we must start with being very clear on what is our priority, what is it that we want to achieve in the long run. So that big picture must always be there. But at the same time, there are always going to be fires that you need to put out, the immediate challenges that you need to address, but don't see them as challenges or problems that you need to solve, but rather, things that will actually strengthen, but not undermine where we are ultimately heading. So I think sometimes these challenges are good things because they will teach you and to course correct. And as long as you don't see them as a distraction, and the things that are not important, basically you have to deprioritize and focus back on what is important to head you towards the future. Okay. So we need to constantly remind ourselves to create the headspace and ask the right questions that is forward-looking, and to have the right conversations with the right people about the future, and to keep bringing us back to focus on the bigger picture that will keep you anchored to that long-term purpose that we're all working towards.
So, Kathleen, following on the global and regional challenges that we just discussed, how can HR leaders get their organizations ready for these changes? And what skills and perspective you think are the most important for building competitive, diverse, and future-ready workforce?
Yeah, HR leaders, more and more today plays a very critical role in helping organizations move from reacting to the changes that are present, all the time to being actually ready for it. So less reactive, more proactive. So that starts with shifting conversations from talking just roles and structures to skills and capabilities and mindset, more importantly, to being ready for the future. So we need to anticipate what the business will need next, and not just talking about filling the problems or filling the gaps there is today. So I see the important skills to do that, to be, being agile, being adaptability to change your plan depending on how the business is reacting to it, and also having strong leadership at all levels. So leaders who can set direction, leaders who can make decisions under uncertain times, and leaders who can bring people together with them through change. So equally important perspectives that value diversity of thought, diversity of mindset, people who can, appreciate different opinions, being inclusive and collaborative across boundaries. Because we all know that there is no one best solution, right? The best solutions often come from a divergence of different views and experiences coming together. So we need to then understand where our leaders are with that, and knowing where they are today and what we need them to be, we then can help them bridge the gap and bring them or equip them with the right skills to be able to bring their team along this journey that is uncertain. Okay. So again, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Different leaders are at different levels of maturity and readiness, and it's HR's role to hold their hand and to equip them the right skills. So HR leaders should look at what programs can help create this value and synergy with the business, and to promote a conducive culture that promotes, not just what is right, but also what is right for the future. So we're talking about HR truly being an enabler of performance by building workforces that are not only competitive and diverse, but also resilient and ready for what's going to come next.
So, Kathleen, can we just maybe expand what you just shared? How do you ensure your people and your leadership strategies can actually support both short-term business needs and also long-term talent goals?
Yep. So I often start by anchoring the people strategy to the business strategy. So HR always needs to be very close to the business, really understand where they're headed towards and what is the strategy and what they need. Okay. So then translate that to what the people strategy needs to be to meet the short-term needs as well as the long-term ones. Okay. So the short-term actions and the long-term goals should not be competing, but should be part of the same strategy or same story. So we often see the short-term actions as quick wins that can build towards the bigger agenda. So quick wins that can also actually build trust and credibility with the business and with our people that will then help us to achieve the longer-term goals. So whether or not it's hiring decisions or moving talent around or development opportunities, they really need to help us deliver what we need today, as well as to grow our workforce of tomorrow. So in practice, this means being really disciplined about our priorities, because there's so many things that we want to achieve, right? We always see so many things that can add value to the business, but we can't do it all. So we need to be very clear and disciplined on what will make a difference, what will really move the needle. So what leadership and critical skills that we need, especially when the pressure is on, cost is tight and expectations are high. So this also means holding our leaders accountable, because it's not just a HR action to take, right? Leaders need to partner with us, even own some of the challenges with the people. And, it's not just for results, but also for how they wish to engage their team and build the right talent or successors over time. And when people strategies are integrated this way with the business, we avoid short-term fixes, and instead create a pipeline of capable and engaged leaders who can sustain performance, hopefully well into the future. And at the same time, build an engaged and high-performing workforce. That is the ideal that we all try to achieve.
So, Kathleen, how about the culture? Because I think culture is also a key, right? So, how do you foster an environment that support agility, innovation, and collaboration across the different regions?
Yeah, culture is really the key. I mean, it's a word that is being heard of a lot and is mentioned a lot, but it's really not a tagline that is used very loosely, because culture is the main element that makes people thrive. So I think fostering a culture of agility, one of innovation and collaboration is important. And that starts with creating the right work environment and mindset. It's not just about implementing programs, right? But yes, sure, you need programs, and that's how we can start. But you need to understand what you want your culture to be. We in Santen do this by really encouraging, curiosity, giving people, information, trying to empower local leaders, hopefully giving them a safe environment to really try out new things, experiment what works and what doesn't work, and then recognizing that both successes and learnings from failure is okay, of course, within reason. So we start by introducing attractive programs that reward and promote continuous learning and innovation. Okay, so we send the message that we encourage this learning through failure, and we recognize people with growth mindset. So with this consistent messaging and action, over time, you do start to form a culture of agility, of innovation, and continuous learning. At least that's what we're trying to achieve. We're not there yet because this will take time, and I think we don't give up and we keep, beating the same drumbeat. So across the diverse regions that we operate in, it's important to establish the shared values and the ways of working that connects people while respecting the local differences. Okay, so we invest in building the network, cross-functional forums, digital collaboration, so that the team can work seamlessly across borders. Finally, our leaders need to model the behaviors that we want to see. Okay, so leaders who listen, leaders who make decisions quickly, leaders who encourage learning from mistakes and breaking down silos. So these are very important behaviors that we want our leaders to role model, because when people see that, okay, so hopefully they will see and start to behave in an agile manner, one that is, start to really experiment new ways of working, and really collaborate across borders. And when they also start to role model that, their team will also follow suit. Okay, so this becomes part of how we operate on a day-to-day basis, regardless of market, regardless of geography.
So, Kathleen, I think given the pace of change in the business and also workforce landscape, so how can HR play a proactive role in shaping business strategy and enabling organizational growth in a fast-changing environment?
Yeah, I think everybody knows, right? When we say strategic business partner, that means you have to stay close to the business, right? So don't be constrained by our titles. We are HR in our title, but I always try to encourage people to think as business leaders, not just as HR professionals. Yes, we're HR professionals, but we have to have that business mindset. Otherwise, we lose that connection with the business. So improving our own business understanding will result in decisions and actions that create value to the business. At the same time, we stay abreast of market trends and over time build this credibility and trust as a true strategic business partner. So people always say, don't always use the HR lingo, because the business will not relate to that. So in that sense, if we have a mindset and think as a business leader, we will therefore not be using the HR lingo and be able to better connect and relate to the business. And therefore, this bond between business and HR will be there and will be strong.
So, Kathleen, building on that, how do you partner with the executive team to align talent culture and also, I guess, the organizational design with strategic priorities?
Yeah, so the first thing you have to do is to really win the trust, and show that we are credible, and therefore earn a seat at the table. Yes, we've heard that before, but really you need to earn that seat at the table. So if you don't, then it's really hard to say that you can partner with them, right? Because if you invited to all the business meetings and you're really sitting there with the business, even though there's no HR agenda, You then start to be part of the executive team, learning what the business strategies are, learning what the business challenges are. And with that, you can then work backwards to look into what is it that the people needs are, what is it that the organization needs can be in order to deliver to that business strategy. So, this means translating those business and strategic priorities into very clear talent or culture or org design or, skills that we need, the capabilities that we need, not for now, but also for the future, and how we build this culture. How are people going to work together to achieve things? And how do we simplify that in a way that our people can understand, in a way that business can understand? If we can do that, it's really the magic formula, according to me, to really strengthen the organization. So to do that as well, we need to make sure that we're not just talking fluff, right? We need to bring data, bring external market in benchmark and insights, and build scenarios so that the executive teams, the people that you talk to, they can visualize what we're trying to say. I always tell my team, right, HR, we need to sell our ideas. We need to be able to communicate in a very clear manner in order to get buy-in. And when we have buy-in, then it's easier for our initiatives to be executed. So I focus on, very niche and small number of critical roles, and align that to critical leadership behaviors, create clear success profiles, and design the choices that we want to focus on to create the biggest impact on delivering the outcome that we want. When this partnership works well, then I think that it's not HR just talking HR topics. HR topics then become an integral part of business meetings, of strategic, decision making. And the leaders see themselves as owning these HR topics with us. And that can truly be an accelerator of business success. So I think in order to be a true strategic partner, this is what needs to happen.
So, Kathleen, also things are changing so fast, right? So, how do you keep up with the emerging trends and external benchmarks to guide your decisions?
Yeah, I think amidst our very busy schedule, I think we all need to make time, consciously block time in our calendars to connect with the outside world. So I personally will attend conferences, listen to webinars, try and read up certain articles and get, external data. Couple that with our own internal data, and then, you can then see where you stand versus the external world. That also means, regularly engaging with my networks outside of Santen, even sometimes outside of the industry, my peers, certain thought leaders, in order to really have a more holistic view of what's happening out there and picking up on what are some best practices that can be brought back into the organization. So with these understanding, I think we can then assess, what really suits the company, not just bring a best practice in that doesn't make sense for the organization. And with this relevant information as well, when I sell that to my business leaders, it will make more sense, and it is not being seen as very inward looking. That is a very balanced view as well. Okay, so I think keeping track of what's happening externally as well will help build more credibility to improve also our internal programs and practices, and make sure that we always keep our policies, practices, and initiatives relevant.
So, Kathleen, I'm quite also curious about your personal growth. So, how do you continue to grow as a leader to bring new perspective to your role?
Yep. So I mentioned earlier, I make the time, consciously to attend congresses, seminar, all that, even, at external, speaking opportunities as well. That keeps me also connected to the outside world. And that's also kind of how I learn. I'm someone who learns best through practical applications. So the more I talk to people and listen to how they also have applied their initiative and the challenges that they go through, I'm learning when I'm talking to them. Okay, so I'm also therefore applying it back to my own thinking, challenging maybe my biases, and maybe I have blind spots as well, to refine the way I think and the way I learn. So this is also one of the reasons actually why I also keep coming back and being very grateful for opportunities to be connected to Criticaleye. I think these kind of platforms are exactly the right opportunities for me to gain those different new perspective and to learn. At the same time, I value the regular feedback from my team and from my business stakeholders. And I consciously make the time to take a step back and to really think more holistically. Like I said earlier, don't forget the big picture. And then think about how is it I need to maybe lead differently with my team, change the way I look at certain things, be more open-minded, and maybe myself, experiment with what might or might not work for the organization. Sometimes the latest hot topics may not suit the organization, right? So things like AI, how do we apply it? Is my organization ready? So these are the things that I'm also learning as I'm, staying connected to the outside world. So bottom line is stay curious. I make sure I am not closed off to challenges, willing to adapt as well, to allow myself to continuously grow and learn.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, for your insights. I think to wrap up our conversation, is there any insights you would like to offer to senior HR leaders seeking into influence their strategy, culture, and growth in the rapid changing environment?
Yeah, I think HR leaders who are listening in kind of already know, but I would like to share maybe for my own journey in the 25 years that I've been in HR from, very junior to where I am today. I think the important things to me, to any executive HR leaders, is obviously, stay close to your business, be at their right hand or left hand, and be invited to meetings, opportunities to see what business meetings, what are the things they talk about, that will give you the business insights, and not just always talk about HR solutions and HR lingo. With that understanding, bring it back to the business in a way that is relevant to them, in a way that connects with them. And I think that then will be easier for that partnership to happen. Then at the same time, we need to stay close to the people, right? So understanding, the sentiments on the ground, not just look at great like engagement survey results, but really going, when I'm visiting the countries, I try to speak to people, especially to our, talents out there. How do they feel? What's really happening in the organization? So listening to that, understanding people needs also help me understand what is it that we need to create as the culture, or maybe even connect the people and the leaders together for a more healthy, organization that supports healthy conversations and really a workforce that is more engaged, and workforce that is more engaged is more resilient and therefore, manage whatever changes that comes in the future. So for us in HR, we're always caught in the middle between what business needs are and what our people needs are. And we have the responsibility to really strike that balance, and to be spokesperson for the business, but also advocates for our people.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, for taking your time to share your insights today. I think it's been really fascinating to hear your perspective on navigating global and regional challenges, building future-ready workforces, and also strategic role of HR in driving growth. So I'm pretty sure our audience will take away a lot of the valuable lessons from this conversation. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Hope people who are listening in find it useful. Thank you.